Welcome back to Small Caps, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kerry Stevenson. I've asked Matt Gauci, the Managing Director of NickelX, to come back and have a chat with us. Most of you know I spoke to Matt in beginning of October last year, where we talked about their project at Cosmos South. That's in the Dalwallinu area, and they've also got a project in the West Yilgarn. So two world-class nickel belts over there in WA. I want to find out what's going on in 2023 with NickelX. The ASX code is NKL. Matt, can't say Happy New Year anymore because we are well into 2023. How are you?
Yeah, really well. Thanks, Kerry. Yeah, very excited about 2023, in particular the Dalwallinu project, which we've defined 4 pretty high priority targets. So we've obviously kicked off an infill soil sampling program there on some really high nickel-copper-PGE tenure, looking for Julimar-style mineralisation. So we're really excited about Dalwallinu.
Last time I spoke to you in October, we spoke about Cosmos South. We touched on Dalwallinu, but the focus was Cosmos South. Has that focus now shifted?
Yeah, it has slightly, and that's on the basis of the initial drilling at Cosmos South, intersected massive sulphide, semi-massive over 135 metres. And the nickel mineralisation didn't really show up as what we would have anticipated. So as we continue to progress Dalwallinu through initial soils and geophysics, it effectively replaced Cosmos as a priority, given the fact that it's clearly close to Perth, easy access. I've got very well-defined targets to have a crack at, and obviously, as a director and shareholder, you want to ensure that you're using shareholder funds to the best of the best of your ability, and also to progress those more high-priority targets. And Dalwallinu certainly got some very high-priority targets. We've only just defined of which we've now got the guys and girls out on site doing some infill soil. So. Yeah, Dalwallinu's replaced Cosmos as the priority exploration target, which we have seeking nickel-copper-PGEs, similar to the Julimar deposit in the same district, being the West Yilgarn. We know how good that Chalice story is, and they capped at 2.4 billion. And, you know, being a sort of a 10 mil fully diluted market cap company with exceptionally well-defined targets, then you have to do what's best by shareholders and have a really good crack at it.
Just try to think of where you said easy access, and it's just north 200 kilometres north of Perth.
Yeah, correct. So it's 200 k's north of Perth and about 120 k's north of Julimar. So clearly, it's easy access in and out. There's no dramas with that. It is on farmland. And we've got a really good relationship with the farmers. So clearly native title's extinguished. So providing that we're able to operate in certain seasons, which we are, yeah, getting in and out is really, really simple and really low cost to set up any exploration program. So it just makes sense. It's high impact, easy access. Clearly seeking Julimar type mineralisation is an enormous prize. There's no bones about that.
Is this an emerging district? I mean, it'd be good to see what that area looks like, I guess. Is this an emerging area, or because Chalice is there, it's emerged?
Yeah, look, I guess you could speak about it as being emerging last year, but as Chalice take obviously Julimar through to BFS and, you know, potentially towards production, you could probably say it's emerged. Our technical director and I, Ollie, Cruiser, were exploring this area sort of 10 years ago for gold, and just couldn't believe how underexplored it was and how unexplored it was. And clearly now companies are just blanketing the whole West Yilgarn district, everyone from Impact to Rio Tinto to obviously Chalice, and the mineralisation is clearly there, but it's not like the East Yilgarn, which, you know, we've been exploring, developing, mining for 100 years, whereas the West Yilgarn's probably only really 10 years old. So,
yeah, why is it only 10 years old? Because it's as you said just a moment ago, it's easy access.
Yeah, in terms of activity, it's 10 years old, and that's primarily because it's clearly the wheat belt and really just farmland. And so there's been progression between explorers, miners, and farmers to be able to come to, you know, appropriate compensation and access agreements such that you can share the land, so to speak. and take on some of these massive greenstone belts. And where we are at Dalwallinu, we cover 86 square kilometres of land on our project, which covers the entire Barra Barra Greenstone Belt. So if you were to attempt to take on an entire greenstone belt in the East Yilgarn, in and around Kalgoorlie, you'd have absolutely no hope. But Dalwallinu covers an entire greenstone belt, so huge area with very fertile mineralisation, which has been defined historically by soils, and now that's why we had to absolutely press the button on going in, doing some infill soils on these 4 high priority targets. Following that will be EM surveys and drilling.
Matt, you've got a lot of, I guess, a lot of time within the nickel industry. You've got a board that understands it very well. In fact, Richard Monty's just come on board as a non-exec director of NickelX. So people are clearly seeing that what you've got your hands on is interesting. And the guys did get excited about Cosmos South. Is Dalwallinu an easier one to work out what it is? Like, do you talk about soil sampling? You don't need to start drilling. You can get a better understanding of it before you start the drill program. Would that be correct?
Yeah, no, that is correct. I mean, Cosmos South was effectively one of the largest, highest tenure electromagnetic surveys done, and the conductors were as strong as you can get, obviously in a very, very fertile belt with Cosmos and Leinster adjoining us. So that being said, it's not cheap to explore in that part of the world, up near Wiluna and Leinster. And also, there's no point doing soils up there. There's just too much cover. Whereas down at Dalwallinu, the soils are very representative of a fertile greenstone belt. So those activities allow really just to hone in on high priority targets, which not only have been defined from historical work, but we've refined them from what was 12 priority targets to now 4 high priority targets on the combination of soil sampling and our own 50 by 50 metre drone mag survey, which has defined what we believe to be intrusives, as well as silts and dikes that are really critical in formation of the Julimar-style mineralisation. So we've got a lot better indication, and it's certainly been closer to Perth in terms of access, certainly a lot cheaper. So if you're going to be using, for instance, $500,000 over the next 6 months, it just makes more sense to us to be able to progress Dalwallinu over and above Cosmos. That being said, we haven't dropped Cosmos. We've still got it in the mix, and we're evaluating the next potential drill program there.
Okay.
It was a $500,000 exercise, of which $200,000 was funded by the government. So, you know, effectively we had half of it already paid for by a grant, whereas Dalwallinu is going to be somewhere in the order of $350,000, for which we believe we'll get a lot more data, not only from the soils but potentially drilling, knowing that there is nickel, copper, and particularly PGE mineralisation. So PGE is obviously a very, very high value metal, as is nickel, of course. And the soils that we've got from the PGE mineralisation is some of the highest tenure PGE mineralisation in Western Australia from soil sampling. So to go in and do 50 by 50 metre grids over those high priority targets is really useful.
You said before it's 120 kilometres north of Julimar, which is Chalice. Excuse me, got a frog in my throat. Does that mean it's along the same sort of belt, or is it completely different?
So it's a different greenstone belt, excuse me, and the greenstone belts, there's about 6 major greenstone belts in the West Yilgarn. And obviously where Dalwallinu is, as I said, covers the entire Barra Barra Greenstone Belt. But yeah, clearly the indications are from magnetic surveys and also from soils is that that type of mineralisation appears to be present. Our job is to narrow in on exactly where we believe the drill targets are, and then clearly do some drilling to continue to build up an idea of how mineralisation may be forming or depositing within that greenstone belt. So I'm going to show you a quick slide, if you don't mind. I'll just show a quick slide of exactly where we are. So yeah, clearly Perth here. Dalwallinu is only 200 kilometres north, east of Perth. Julimar's just down near 2J, about 150 k's southeast. They are on different greenstone belts, but the West Yilgarn, as I said, it's got 6 or so greenstone belts, of which, yeah, unfortunately, Dalwallinu covers the entire Barra Barra Greenstone Belt, which is clearly fertile, given that we've already got really high tenure soils for nickel-copper-PGE. So, yeah, that's pretty much where it is.
That was actually really helpful because you kind of understand it's a different belt from Julimar, but it's in a really, what you're saying is the current soil sampling that you've done is telling you that there's something there. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, absolutely. There's definitely really high tenure nickel-copper-PGE soils, in particular PGEs, which is a fantastic indication. So what we've got down to now is 4 high priority targets. That combined with the recent 50 by 50 metre drone mag survey that we did has, yeah, clearly identified these areas as being high priority to progress with the infill soils, which again will be done on 50 by 50 metre grids, whereas previous soils were done on circa 250 by 250 metre grids. So we're really, really narrowing in on those targets. And as soon as we get the assays back, you know, hopefully by the end of the March quarter, pending the assay labs and how busy they are, that'll give us the green light to identify the drill targets and get on the ground and drill test what we have, which is clearly what we do. We're explorers. We know what we're doing when we identify really high prospective areas. We run them systematically. We obviously run them with a close eye on the budget, which, as we said before, is why we moved to Dalwallinu. It's certainly high impact if you're seeking a Julimar, and it's also a little bit more efficient and lower cost than where we've been exploring before. Like any good explorer, Kerry, we're also got our eye on acquisitions in the market, evaluating a whole range of opportunities in nickel, copper, PGE. And yeah, can't go into it too much, but you know, these are anywhere from early stage, high impact exploration plays to more advanced plays. The board's obviously got experience in not only exploring and discovering, but also developing and mining nickel copper projects, and base metal projects. So we're always active with a 2-pronged attack, exploring, putting money in the ground, but also, you know, engaging with our networks in the market to seek additional value accretive opportunities.
Matt, as I said it before, you've been around for a little while. There's that frog again. You've been around the industry for a little while. You excited about Dalwallinu? Like this, and it's exploration, ladies and gentlemen. So it's well early days. So don't get overexcited yourselves. But I just want to find out from Matt. You've been in the game a while. You've done the soil sampling. You're saying that it's looking pretty interesting. What's your thought process? Are you pretty excited about what the potential of Dalwallinu?
Yeah, no, we're very excited. I mean, you have to be excited when you're in the game of exploration.
Yeah, that's true.
You're really only going to get excited if you run a systematic process and keep putting the bits and pieces of the jigsaw puzzle together to refine drill targets and then to get on the ground and drilling. You wouldn't be an explorer, you wouldn't be in the business if you weren't excited about it. But it's ticking all the boxes so far, and that's why we're really keen to continue with the infill soils. And we just keep thinking about the prize. I mean, if you're looking at, obviously, Chalice at $2.5 billion, you make any nickel, copper, PGE discovery, NickelX won't be a $10 million company for too long. And so that prize is just worthwhile investing shareholders' money in. And as I said, we do things systematically. We have ticked all the boxes so far with Dalwallinu, and the next 6 months are going to be really exciting.
Okay, and that's what I want to find out. Over the next 6 months, just talk us through what the program looks like, what those steps look like.
Sure. So obviously we kicked off infill soils yesterday. So that's going to take a week or so, and that'll be done on 50 by 50 metre grids. We'll then obviously put those assays into the lab and get, or put those samples into the lab, get the assays back, hopefully before the end of the March quarter, pending how busy the labs are. We'll then be running EM surveys to look for conductors along that main greenstone belt and just outside that main magnetic trend. Obviously, any combination of a conductor, the mag survey, and soils is going to really light up, very, very high priority targets. And then following that, we'll be looking at doing some RC drilling along those key priority targets. And that's circa 2,000 metre program. But yeah, as I said, we'll refine that as we continue to get bits and pieces of this jigsaw puzzle together along a systematic exploration program. So you're working up the drill targets, and following that, do some drilling.
What about funding? How much cash you got in the bank at the moment?
Yeah, no, so we're reasonably comfortable for an explorer. We're 4 million at the end of the quarter. That's without a $200,000 grant that we're getting back from the government. The program coming up at Dalwallinu, including drilling, will be circa 350,000.
Okay.
So we're reasonably comfortable in terms of cash to do the exploration that we want to do. And fortunately, that gives us a fairly good buffer in terms of evaluation of new opportunities, where we dive really deep into other opportunities. Again, some of the more advanced, which an evaluation of such isn't cheap. But yeah, fortunately, we've got the experience through our chairman, Jonathan Downs, non-executive director, Richard Monty, non-exec, Ollie Cruiser, and our exploration manager, Tony Donaghy, who's a global expert in the search for and development of nickel-copper-PGE deposits. So we've got the right people, and fortunately, we've got cash to be able to progress these opportunities.
And I think it's important to mention people. We did mention it last time because you said last time that people is one of the things you've got to look at. I mean, it is pointless having people that don't understand nickel exploring for nickel, and you've got some of the best in the team. I go back to Richard Monty because is he a recent appointment to the NickelX team, or?
Yes, I think it was just after we spoke. Richard officially joined the board around about the AGM time, so late November.
Okay.
He's been working really closely with the board, not only in terms of planning exploration, but more so in terms of new opportunities. And that's one of Richard's skills, along with John O'Downs, our chairman, and the rest of the board, in terms of evaluating new opportunities globally, to be honest with you, for nickel-copper-PGE and other minerals, if deemed fit and if deemed to be of high value to shareholders. So yeah, Richard's background with Anaconda back in the day, where Jonathan Downs, our chairman, was as well, in terms of exploring, developing, mining and marketing nickel, is enormous, and has worked across a whole range of base metal projects and gold projects, both from an exploration, discovery and sale process. So Richard's corporate and business development activities are second to none in WA. So really happy to have Richard on board. It just builds up the intellectual property of the company, and that's as good a value as anything.
Okay, so let's just so are you parking Cosmos South for the moment, and the focus is all on Dalwallinu? That's kind of where I want to finish this up with. Is Cosmos South? It's disappointed. And as explorers, you've got to make that call, I guess, don't you? Because you don't want to waste shareholder funds if you don't think that big discovery is going to be there. Would I be right in saying that?
Yeah, no, pretty much right. You've got to deploy your funds in the most appropriate manner that gets, for want of a better word, bang for your buck. And Dalwallinu, clearly looking for Julimar-style, is just an enormous prize. Certainly a lot lower cost than Cosmos. And we certainly haven't put it to bed, so to speak. We feel as though there's still potential there to intersect ultramafics just outside of where we were drilling. So the guys are just doing an evaluation on what the next drill program might look like at Cosmos. But in the short term, it just makes sense in terms of using shareholders' funds to the best of our ability to really have a good crack at Dalwallinu. As I said, big prize, relatively cheap exploration, and very well identified high priority targets.
Yeah, well, you know your stuff, Matt. So clearly there's something there, and you want to go and make sure that if it's there, you're going to find it. Let's wrap it up, if you like. My usual. I want to know 3 reasons. You know, it's a bit of a change from when we spoke in October last year. Why people should be sitting up and taking notice of NickelX, because there will be some out there going, "Oh, I really like the sound of Cosmos South," but Dalwallinu, tell them why now's a good time for them to sit up and take notice.
Look, to be honest with you, the 3 fundamentals haven't really changed. It's,
okay.
If anything, got better. That being people, as always, and with the addition of Richard to the team, it's really just beefed up our technical and corporate capabilities within the nickel space.
Okay.
So people, number 1. 2, projects. Dalwallinu's as prospective, if not more prospective than Cosmos South. We know there's mineralisation there. And so projects are always important. And then, yeah, business development. We've got, eye on a whole range of other opportunities, and you're either going to make a discovery or make an acquisition to get a re-rating, and we're doing, a 2-pronged attack on that. So people, projects, and acquisitions.
There you have it, lady. People, projects, acquisitions, and as you said, a bit of a re-rating. They're either going to discover it or they're going to acquire it. But Matt, great to see you as always. If you discover or acquire, make sure you come back and tell us first here on Small Caps. Thanks for joining me today.
You'll be first to know, Kerry. No worries. Thanks a lot.